Are you worried that a client or customer is not going to pay for the invoice you have rendered to them? Is even thinking about this frustrating you? Not being paid for a job well done can be one of the most frustrating parts of running or operating a business. This frustration can eat into your positive and creative energy and cause more damage than is already done if left to fester. So here, I want to give you the tools to understand and successfully navigate any difficult collection type scenario you or your establishment may be faced with. I'm Jack Heneghan, CEO of IRS Collections Canada. Here, I want to give you the main 4 types of debtors that businesses fall prey to when collecting on outstanding debts. Because I'm committed to providing you and your team with the best collection strategies available, I'm also going to give you an outline of how to best navigate these difficult non-paying clients or customers for the speediest recovery. Firstly, let's identify the 4 debtor types: the broke debtor, the excuse debtor, the ungrateful debtor, and the ghost debtor. In any collection negotiation, you will find that a debtor will fall into one of these categories. If you are ever unsure into which category your debtor falls under, then you are not asking enough questions of them. Continue to ask meaningful questions, at least 3, and I can confidently tell you that you will uncover the type to which your debtor falls under. In this business, we often say it's good to politely challenge those individuals. So feel free to ask more questions if 3 does not get the job done. Let's dive into scenario 1, which is, I just don't have the money. I can't pay you right now, but I'm hoping that maybe in the future I might be able to. This is what we refer to as the broke debtor. The broke debtor may actually be falling on hard times, but be sure that you are not falling victim to someone who claims to not have the money, but is fine paying for fancy trips abroad or expensive luxury items. Maybe they even just expanded their new business venture. In order to identify this, do a quick search through the person's social media or online presence. If they seem to be flaunting expensive luxury items but are never able to pay you, then categorize this debtor into the excuse debtor, which we will be covering next. If the person's situation does check out and they seem to legitimately be having financial strife, then listen on. The broke debtor generally does have the best intentions to pay. They just can't. They may be big on promises but always fall short on cash or follow through. It's not a jab at you, and it doesn't feel good for the other party to be out of integrity either. So don't take it personally. The best way to deal with the broke debtor is to work with them financially. I know this is probably not the answer you were hoping for, but it is in the best interest of all parties to come to a reasonable and successful resolution before retaining any third parties or filing of any legal suit. One of the best ways to do this is by asking that a payment plan be put forward with an immediate partial payment upfront. Remember that most businesses and individuals want to pay their bills. It goes against the grain. The opposing party usually does not want to be out of integrity, so it's best to not always jump to conclusions here. Get an understanding of the business or person's financial situation and work with them on paying you back. Everyone can make a payment plan of some kind. Let the person know that it will come up for review at a later time in an effort to see the full balance paid. But the first payment is really, really important here. It sets the tone for further payback and communication to you. Moving on to excuse number 2. How do you expect me to pay if I haven't been paid from my customer? I haven't even been paid yet myself. Things never seem to work for me. I always try and then something comes up. This is what we refer to as the excuse debtor. They always seem to have some issue and therefore cannot pay you. They can never really take full ownership and responsibility for their outstanding dues to you and always seem to pass the buck onto some other party. The excuse debtor can show up often and is extremely common in certain industries where payment of a job can become complicated. Take the construction industry, for example, where there is a trickle-down effect of funds being dispersed down the ladder on many projects. Now, I do understand that you did not do the work for someone else, and it is not your job to go chasing all the parties who supposedly owe the person who is not paying you. But it is good in these instances to remind your customer that you did the work for them. You did not do the work for someone else. Remind them that you will be referring back to them and them alone for facilitation of repayment of their outstanding invoice to you. Putting ownership and emphasis of responsibility on this type of debtor can go a really long way in reminding them of their previous commitments and obligations. Again, most people do not want to live out of integrity. Politely challenging the excuse debtor may even help them see their shortcomings in avoiding this responsibility. If your customer does come forward and takes ownership for their obligations, then you can categorize them back into the broke debtor category, which we covered earlier. In instances where this customer has a larger balance owed to you, ask them to provide you with an assignment or direction to pay, which can easily be put in place between both parties. This secures you for when your customer does have access to funds again. If the excuses persist and no reasonable effort to repay you has been made, a court approach may be necessary to secure funds quickly and efficiently, all of which can be done and managed here at IRS Collections. If you are looking for more information on assignments or directions to pay, you can check out more on my video around this topic, or always phone into our sales department to see what our team can do to help you. Moving on to excuse number 3. Why are you breathing down my neck about this? It wasn't like what you did was rocket science. I'll pay when I get around to it. You should just be lucky you have me as a client. This is what we refer to as the ungrateful debtor. The ungrateful debtor is usually the customer who comes in hot and heavy with big dilemmas. Help me, he yells. I need you, he pleads. You're the only one who can do this for me. This customer has no problem running to you with his or her problems, wanting everything done for them on a rush basis. When you do tell them what your extra charges will be for this rush request, they have no problem accepting, still pleading for you to provide your services. I'll do anything, they say. I just need the job to be done. You go ahead and perform the work with precision and accuracy, only to hear your customer go silent shortly after submitting your invoice. You follow up for repayment. It is always a stall until finally the client states that you didn't really do much for them and he or she could have done it all on their own. I didn't need you, they say. It wasn't rocket science, they tell you. I could have done it all on my own. I dive deeper on this type of debtor in my video, Debtors and the Gratuity Scale, from Needy to Avoidant. The best way to deal with the ungrateful debtor is to secure payment of your account early on, whether through a retainer or following up on the outstanding invoice immediately after it was rendered. You do not want this invoice to age. The longer it sits, the less the debtor wants to pay. Keep in mind that if you are not following up promptly on your invoices, many normal customers can begin to fall into the ungrateful debtor category after a certain amount of time. Customers who are not followed up with promptly begin to forget about the outstanding invoice that you have rendered to them. And when finally someone does call from your office to collect, sometimes maybe even a year later, the customer will forget how beneficial your services were at that time. I mean, let's be honest, no one remembers what they were doing 6 months ago, never mind a year ago. If you are allowing your receivables to age longer than 6 months before retaining an agency like IRS Collections, you are doing yourself and your customers a disservice. With the ungrateful debtor, if you are stuck with this type of debtor, it is always best to immediately send this customer to collections. A third party is always a great tool for renegotiation. And if renegotiation fails, litigation and legal suit may be a valid option here, which can all be handled by our team here at IRS Collections. Moving on to excuse number 4, which really isn't an excuse at all. It's actually no contact whatsoever, no answering of phone calls, no closed door. It's the client or customer who never really returns your calls, never responds to their emails, and in many cases has even blocked you from their phones. We call this the ghost debtor. They have disappeared and have no intention of getting back to you about your outstanding invoice. This can by far be one of the more frustrating situations in collecting money. Where has the person gone? Why won't they get back to you? You are left with more questions than answers. I know for myself personally, I appreciate people being upfront and honest, which you never really get with the ghost debtor. Closure is not a gift that the ghost debtor provides. The best way to deal with a ghost debtor is to obtain leverage again, finding something out about them which will politely challenge them to come to terms with responding back to you. Perhaps reaching out on another platform besides just their phone or email. A lot of information can be obtained about a business or individual through the use of a skip trace, which I talk in greater depth on in other videos. In this situation, it might be best to list your account for collection. Not only does our team negotiate, litigate, and collect on your behalf, but we also look after finding and making contact with that debtor who has previously ghosted you. That's right, we find these individuals, our dime, as all part of our service. And you don't pay until we have your money collected for you. If you are dealing with one of these types of debtors, feel free to always reach out to our sales team and see what we can do for you. Rest assured, whichever debtor you are dealing with, there are ways to get them to pay you, which just so happens to be our specialty. So check to see if you're asking yourself one of these questions. What is going on here? Am I ever going to get paid? Is this person just giving me the runaround, or are they not receiving my messages? If you find yourself dropping down the hole of unknowns, I urge you to reach out to us. Stop allowing these individuals to add frustration to you and your organization. Get back to doing what you do best, which is billing, and bring in the professionals who know how to get the job done quickly and efficiently. Below, you will find a link to our website at IRS Collections Canada where you can list your account with us for immediate recovery. Not only do we look after the renegotiation process, We also have all the tools to determine your client or customer's current financial situation, where they can be contacted, and the best ways to push these individuals for collection. If litigation is deemed necessary, we look after all of that on your behalf also. This is a one-stop shop for anything collection related. It's simple to list, saves you and your team time, and the best part is you are only charged once we have collected funds on your behalf, whether to our trust account or directly to you. If you do find yourself in one of these situations, you can always refer back to this video to understand what category your debtor falls under and the best tools for navigating around this situation. Remember that mitigation of your receivables early on is the best practice here. So ensure that you're following up with aged receivables early on, not letting them sit for longer than 3 to 6 months, and actively reaching out to these customers who owe you. If at any time you're stuck and cannot handle this, this is exactly why we are here to help. If you want to follow more videos on how to successfully collect money, please feel free to hit the subscribe button.